Charlie Kirk may be gone, but his legacy lives on. Charlie Kirk has an incredible, and I mean an incredible legacy, one that is inspiring to me. I want to have the legacy that Charlie Kirk has. I really do. I even wrote in my book that I want people to realize that my life was lived for Christ, that my faith is real. Not fake, but real. That's what lots of people are saying about Charlie Kirk. Now, I've got two things that I want to show you today. The first one will speak about JD Vance hosting the Charlie Kirk show, and he said a very important thing. There can be no unity with radical leftists that celebrate death, that celebrate the murder of someone like Charlie Kirk. How do you unify someone like that? They can't even agree that violence is not the answer because they're so twisted in their mind that they think that it's okay and acceptable to celebrate the death of a good man. They don't think that he's a good man because he had a difference of opinion to lots of people, and they go, oh, he was spreading a lot of hate, and they got no idea. How can you have unity with those sorts of people, with radical, insane people? I've said a number of times now, you've got insane and sane people. It seems that way, but you've also got good versus evil. And good's going to win. No doubt about that. There's not a doubt in my mind that love is going to conquer and good is going to prevail. Evil will not win. Evil will lose. It's already lost. The devil is just trying to have a fun time at the moment, but believe you me, the devil's already lost. He's playing a losing game. And Charlie's message has been spread far and wide. In fact, Charlie's message has had a greater impact the last couple of days than what I've seen in a very, very long time. I want Charlie still around. Goodness knows what Charlie could have continued to do. He was only 31 years old, man. He should still be here. But a radical leftist ideology took Charlie. Matt Walsh goes, trans activists were posting about the shooting before it happened. This is LGBT-tearism. Don't make it about anything else. The evidence is overwhelming, and there's a lot more to come. The evidence is overwhelming, but people will try, like Candace Owens will try, and Tucker Carlson, we'll get into that a little bit later today, will try and paint this on Israel. Oh, Charlie was fighting with donors. He was changing his mind on Israel. He was having a spiritual awakening. He was going to see it my way. No, Charlie was consistent in his views. He knew what he believed in and why he believed it, and he defended it to the very end. It's more than I can say for Tucker and for Candace to continuously lie all the time, because it's good for them to do so. And these two people that claim to be friends of Charlie Kirk are trying to tarnish his legacy. Before we get into these two trying to tarnish Kirk's important legacy, let me show you what JD Vance had to say about radical leftists and trying to have unity with them. Have a watch.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country.
Charlie Kirk never used hate speech. He used speech they hated. And because of it, he was killed. The trans agenda, transgenderism, is an evil ideology. I was saying that before this show got incredibly big. It's one of the first reasons why this show got bigger is because I became outspoken about the trans agenda and how evil it actually is. Trans violence, ladies and gentlemen, is a real thing. They're violent and they commit many acts of violence. I've covered story after story about it. But instead of actually reporting on the truth, Candace and Tucker love to lie. They try and make this about something it's not. Why can't you call out the truth? Call out the truth that it was a radical individual that was indoctrinated. Transgenderism. Why can't you talk about that? What's so hard? You hate Israel that much that you really think Israel did it. And as JD Vance pointed out, how can you have unity with those sorts of people? People that fund terrorism. Muslims were celebrating Charlie's death. You had countless radical leftists celebrating his death as well. How can you have a healthy, functioning society? How can you even have peace when people do that? Now, one thing that I didn't like is, I believe it was after this, JD had Tucker Carlson on. And this part is quite concerning. So I believe JD called out the violent rhetoric of radical leftists. We have overwhelming evidence that it was this young person. But now he brings on Tucker Carlson. And Tucker continues to push that Charlie was turning against Israel and against donor pressure. And JD pushed back, but ultimately in the very end supported what Tucker was saying. Have a watch of this.
This is the question. If you were good faith, you're on his team.
That is exactly right. And good faith is the measure. And I have to say, I think now is exactly the wrong time to appropriate the memory of someone and the emotion that comes with that, the really intense emotion that all of us feel at his murder, and use it for your own parochial ends. Like, he stood for this, and I think the reason that Charlie was able to bridge the gap, particularly in foreign policy, is because he had, for example, genuine affection for Israel, which he expressed to me in private many, many times. Like, I love Israel. I don't think we should have another forever war, regime change war against Iran. And I think that made complete sense to me. I sort of agree with that, actually. And so it allowed both sides to talk to him because they felt like, this person doesn't hate me. It doesn't need to get existential. It's not about disliking me or some weird bigotry. But I don't think it's helpful for people to jump in, particularly foreign heads of state, to say, this is what, he lived for my cause or whatever. That's disgusting, actually. Don't do that. That turns everybody off. You don't help your own cause by doing that. And it's also literally untrue. So I just hope that we can continue in I'm not exaggerating, the spirit that he operated in, which is one of love for other people, including people we disagree with, and don't make it, as small bore as that. That doesn't help.
Yeah, so one of the issues, Tucker, and I agree with you, that he would express disagreements with the administration on, there are two that jump out, is one, Charlie was a hardliner on immigration. He wanted us to control our borders as much as possible. Yes. He wanted us to ramp up the deportations. I remember having conversations with Charlie where he would say, why aren't the deportations higher? Why aren't you doing more? And I would talk to him. But it wasn't, hey, I don't understand this or I disagree with you and therefore I'm going to blast you and assume that you're in bad faith. It's, I'm a free citizen. I love you guys. I supported you guys, and I'm going to use my platform to try to accomplish as much good as I possibly can. And I think that made him such an effective operator. And I would talk to Charlie. I'd say, Charlie, well, look, here are the reasons why. And as you've seen, Tucker, we've ramped up deportation numbers. We have actually, there are a lot of people who are self-deporting because they don't want to be in the country knowing that eventually immigration enforcement will happen. But I think part of that success comes from people like Charlie applying pressure. Pressure as a friend, pressure as somebody who cares deeply about the issue. And that's true also, I know we have about 90 seconds left, but that's true about foreign policy. Like, I remember Charlie calling me and saying, I'm really worried. And this is back in the summer when the Iran strikes were sort of first being contemplated. He said, I'm really worried this is going to become another regime change war in the Middle East that we get trapped in. And I said, Charlie, first of all, have some faith here. The President of the United States is not a believer in perpetual war. He knows the mistakes of Iraq and Afghanistan. He doesn't want to repeat them. But Charlie was very clear that he could support Israel. And by the way, he did eventually support the strikes on the nuclear facility while simultaneously saying, no more. This can't become a bigger thing. This can't become a broader thing. And again, I think he modeled a really good way of applying pressure, of disagreeing when you do disagree, but also recognizing that so long as you're operating in good faith, we're all part of the team. And that's something I'm going to try to take from Charlie's legacy is not that we're always right, not that we can't take criticism, but that we all should try to work together.
It did worry me because I think your description is perfect. He was one of the very few who took that message and stood by it. I mean, right to the very end. This cannot get bigger. We don't want another regime change war. But man, some of the people who send money to Turning Point, his donors, were very tough on him. So tough on him that I could feel it. I talked to him a lot in the last few months, and he was under enormous pressure. He never bent. He never became bitter.
He kept his integrity to the very end.
To the very end. And I just think it's important to say that because it's true.
First of all, it's not untrue. Charlie supported Israel. And yes, I don't think that it does Israel any favors by constantly reminding everyone. But Charlie loved Israel. His favorite place to go to, and second place. He loved the people. He loved the land. He was all about it. Sure, he didn't want a forever war because that's just Charlie. And yes, I did call him out on the Iran conflict. Yes, I did. I called him out twice. First, defending Glenn Greenwald. And second, on the Iran stuff. I will admit that. They're in my catalog. Go back and watch them if you want. But not for 1 second. Not for 1 second. Like, you have disagreements and you're never going to agree with everyone on anything. Anyone, like, you're not going to agree on everything with it. Everyone. Just the way things go. And a bit of a brain fart go on there a moment ago. So I can believe, but Tucker is trying to tarnish Kirk's legacy. That's the way it seems. And so Vance Speaks goes, why was Tucker even invited on this show? I'm beyond tired of people treating him as some credible voice of moral reasoning. He's a complete joke and a blatant apologist for both Putin and Islamist extremists. Stop giving him a platform. I'm extremely disappointed to see JD Vance participating in this as well. Well, yeah, it's interesting how not long before this, JD said you can't have peace with people that cause disunity, that celebrate the senseless assassination of Charlie Kirk. How do you have peace with them? Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.